Hello and welcome to BC Pay, Best Card's point-of-sale software designed for medical billing. Once installed, you should be easily able to pull up the BC Pay app when you need to run a payment in the office for payments where your patients are either present or if you have a card to manually enter. If you are using automatic posting, you will instead start a transaction by hitting the BC Pay button on the payment window in your practice management software. To run a sale when the cardholder or card is present, enter the transaction amount and press the Sale button to run a card-present payment. This will send the transaction to your cloud payment terminal and allow you to accept a payment using methods such as a contactless card or Apple Pay, the chip on the card, or swipe. Once the transaction is completed, the receipt will pop up, allowing you to print a paper receipt, email a digital receipt, or void or return the transaction. When finished in the receipt window, just hit Continue. Please note, if using automatic posting software, the Continue button will be replaced with Post Payment and will post the payment into the patient ledger. To run a sale by manually entering the card number when the cardholder isn't present, enter the transaction amount and press the keyed Sales button to run a card not present payment. BC Pay will then prompt you for cardholder billing information, such as the cardholder name and/or patient name. We recommend entering these names to ensure transaction reports are as helpful as possible in the future. Once billing information is completed, press Submit and the transaction request will be sent to the card reader for encrypted device entry. After completing card number entry, enter the card security code and 5-digit zip code according to the card reader prompts. We always recommend including the zip code and security code when keying in cards. This is part of an anti-fraud check, and entering this information accurately can result in lower rates on keyed transactions. Once the transaction is completed, the receipt will pop up, allowing you to print a paper receipt, email a digital receipt, or void or return the transaction. When finished in the receipt window, just hit Continue. Please note, if using automatic posting software, the Continue button will be replaced with Post Payment and will post the payment into the patient ledger. If you need to find a prior sale that you have run, any prior transaction can be found under Reports on the main screen. Our training video on reports helps walk through different options to find payments. Within BC Pay, you can process a void for any prior transaction from either transaction receipts or transaction reports. Every receipt screen includes the option to run a return or a void by pressing the Return/Void button in the bottom left-hand corner. Alternatively, you can find the transaction in Reports and click the Other drop-down menu, then Return/Void to access the Void menu. On the Return/Void menu, you'll see a copy of the original receipt. If the transaction has not been submitted for funding or already been refunded, it can be canceled by hitting the Void button. Once this transaction is voided, it is canceled and will no longer show up on your current batch in Reports. Voids are only possible if the transaction has not been submitted for funding or settled. Since batch settlement is scheduled to automatically occur each day, usually this means that voids are only available on the same day that the sale was processed. If the void option is gray on the Return/Void screen, it means that voiding the transaction is no longer possible. Voids can be preferable to returns when possible because voiding the transaction ensures that there are no transaction fees on the original sale. Additionally, voids can reflect on cardholder statements more quickly than returns. Within BC Pay, you can run a return or refund for any prior transaction from either transaction receipts or transaction reports. Every receipt screen includes the option to run a return or void by pressing the Return/Void button in the bottom left-hand corner. Alternatively, you can find the transaction in Reports and click on the Other drop-down menu, then Return/Void to access the Return menu. On the Return/Void menu, you'll be shown a copy of the original receipt. Verify the amount of the refund, where you can choose between a full refund or partial refund, and then hit Run Return to complete. Please note, returns cannot exceed the amount of the transaction that you've selected for the refund. Because returns have the potential to be a source of questions, chargebacks, and fraud, there are some best practices to follow when issuing returns. In brief, you should only process a return to the credit card used for the original sale, and you should communicate with the cardholder that returns can take up to 1 week to reflect on the cardholder statement. As a part of our ongoing fraud prevention measures, BC Pay does not allow for blind credits. Blind credits are refunds to cards that do not have an offsetting sale, or refunds exceeding the original amount of the transaction. If you need to enable blind credits on your account temporarily or permanently, please reach out to BestCard. Now that you understand how to run voids and returns, let's talk about their differences. A void will cancel the transaction before it processes, while a return is a separate payment back to the cardholder. Voids are only available while the transaction's batch is still open, so payments from another day or following settlement cannot be voided. Voids can help avoid unnecessary processing fees and often reflect an update more quickly on the cardholder's bank side. Returns can be completed at any time to refund money back to a customer, but original transaction fees for the completed sale may be unavoidable. Returns may also take longer to reflect on cardholder statements, sometimes up to a week, depending on the card. Remember that in addition to your BC Pay software, you also can process sales, voids, and returns by using the BestCard online payment gateway. Need further clarification or want to go deeper in the subject? You can always schedule a follow-up training through the Help menu of your BC Pay app. If you have any questions, our support teams are happy to help. Call at 877-739-3952 or by email at bcpaysupport@bestcardteam.com.